Greetings and welcome to another Red Smeg character bio. Today we will be looking into a familiar face to those who enjoy the Red Dead franchise, the legendary John Marston. We will be looking into the John we see in the Red Smeg films, which is a branching timeline from the main Red Dead story, so it is technically a slightly different character. John was a member of the Van der Linde gang for quite some time, being one of their most valuable gunmen they had. He was closely allied with Arthur Morgan as they grew up together as brothers. Eventually, John, for one reason or another, would be sent to Mexico, stuck there after a mission went wrong. The gang may have accidentally left John behind, but luckily for him, he would soon make an unlikely ally in the form of Barry Buckle. Barry and John became allies, and earning their ticket out of Mexico, and sharing a drink after the Great Escape. Unfortunately, Barry had a small issue he needed to deal with. John felt sympathy for Barry and decided to assist. Unfortunately, this was briefly before the Podzol Purge, which was an event that would test Barry and John's resolve. After making their way to Coulter and finishing Barry's task, the Podzol Purge commenced, which would gradually create more and more undead Podzol zombies. John and Barry had to survive the coming hordes together as a team. Eventually, they would make their way to Blackwater, sticking there and protecting the city with all their willpower, testing John's bravery especially. Barry was impressed at John's gun skills. Eventually, they decided to try and find the culprit behind the Podzol Purge, being Eoskal. On their way through the desert, Eoskal would ambush them, annihilating their ally, the deputy, and rushing at them at an insane speed, barely giving them any time to react. Before long, Barry and John would be in a direct confrontation against the Podzol's chosen. This moment is where Barry realized John was a true friend, fighting alongside him against a godlike being. Luckily for John, Eoskal wished not to end more lives than necessary, thus he pulled back his punches against John. John's combat skills are still impressive, however. Over time, they would go through many conflicts with Eoskal, eventually joining sides with Arthur Morgan, where John and Arthur had a brief reconnection, only for that too to be snuffed out by Eoskal, killing Arthur with a brutal Podzol flash. John and Barry were left furious, deciding to resupply and head out to stop Eoskal, eventually making their way to the ritual site. As Eoskal closed in, Barry decided to hold him off so that John could stop the Podzol Purge. John successfully saved the world, whilst Barry fought for his timeline, stopping Eoskal and permanently changing the course of the timeline. Ever since, Barry and John managed to reconnect and now are simply vibing, until Eoskal asked them for aid, offering reconciliation and even a temporary alliance against a greater threat. Now, John and Barry are once again in quite a conundrum. Will they get through it? Only time will tell. Now, moving on to abilities and strengths, John is simply a normal guy, with no Podzol or celestial influence. However, he is very well trained with almost every firearm and melee weapon you could find. His hand-to-hand combat is sufficient enough to overpower Eoskal in terms of skill, and his ability to combat the Podzol Purge proves he is one of the stronger powerless individuals. His intelligence is quite good as well, as he managed to decrypt the butterscotch tomes and recite them flawlessly. He values his family and his friendship with Barry, as their bond was forged from the blood of the Podzol pricks. John is best as a ranged combat specialist in a battle, whilst heavy hitters like Barry provide a sufficient distraction from the foe. John is a relatively new character, only appearing after the Podzol Purge in Barry's timeline arc. But still, he remains as one of the most influential and well-liked characters. This has been all for John's character bio. Let me know in the comments who you'd like to know more about.